The SCP Foundation is a top-secret organization dedicated to capturing and containing paranormal phenomena, or anomalies. These can range from living beings to abstract concepts, and many of them pose a serious threat to humanity. To keep the public safe, the Foundation suppresses all knowledge of these anomalies through censorship and amnestics. They even use convicted criminals as disposable test subjects for their research. But the Foundation isn't the only organization involved with the paranormal world. There are also rival groups like the Chaos Insurgency, the Global Occult Coalition, and the Serpent's Hand, each with their own agenda. It's a dangerous and unpredictable world out there, but the SCP Foundation is doing everything they can to keep us safe, whether we know it or not. The factory was founded by industrialist and alleged pagan or Satanist James Anderson in 1835. The factory back then was known as the Anderson Factory and was designed to produce anything the consumers wished, ranging from food to clothes to weapons. The factory was the largest factory that ever built at the time, as Anderson was very specific in its construction, and possibly even used black magic to its paranormal powers. The factory employed numerous workers who were eager to work as they believed that it was a chance to earn money and have some place to live. However, instead they were imprisoned within it, and as slaves were forced to work for extended periods of time under extremely harsh conditions while barely being treated as animals. The chained workers, which also included children, would slaughter animals to produce food and maintain the factory's machinery, which scoured their flesh from their bones, and when their blood spilled over the walls of the factory, archaic runes would appear, although this was never affirmed. Injured workers would be forced to still keep working, while those too injured to work would be dragged by the security and present them to Anderson, who experiment on them by stitching their body parts together or add animal parts to them to transform them into monstrous servants. The factory even had breeding pits, where girls as young as 8 were chained and repeatedly raped, probably to breed more workers. Rumors began spreading about the real nature of the Anderson factory, but nobody did anything about that until in 1875, when one of the workers finally managed to escape. She went to President Grant and told him about the real, horrible nature of the factory, which prompted the president to send a militaristic force made out of 50 men and women to take down the factory. The army, led by the future 051, attacked the factory and made quick work of the security, as it was made up of normal workers before coming across the modified workers. The army was able to also kill them, and proceeded to free all of the workers while looking for Anderson. After finding him hiding in his office, the army punished him by disemboweling him and hanging him using his own intestines. Despite this, Anderson managed to stay alive and laughed at them, stating that the factory would live on despite his death, and finally died after being taken apart. Following the conquest of the factory, a few members of the army and their leader marveled at the anomalous products created from the factory, such as toys that acted like real lethal weapons, or cloaks seemingly made of darkness that allowed its users to go to another dimension. When the time came to make a decision about the fate of the factory, 12 of the armies, which included the leader, decided to use the factory and its products to protect humanity, causing those who believed that the building and its products should be destroyed or reported to the president to form the Allied Occult Initiative. Other members would use the products for their own purposes, with the chaplain forming the Church of the Broken God, believing that some of the products were pieces of God, while a member named Marshall decided to sell the products for personal gain, forming Marshall, Carter, and Dark Limited. One of the workers who were freed would become Dr. Wondertainment and produce products to induce joy and happiness to his customers. The 12 left in charge of the factory would eventually become the SCP Foundation's O5 Council and form a city around it. The fairies, after finding out about the factory and its diabolic nature, attempted to warn the Foundation of the great threat posed by the factory, but seeing that they would not listen in 1911, decided to attack and destroy the factory themselves. they were able to slaughter most of the Foundation, including 11 members of the Council, leaving 051 to try to hide somewhere within the factory. He eventually came across a mysterious door which was inscribed in a language similar to Arabic, and upon stepping inside he met with the living consciousness of the factory, which was using Anderson's mutilated corpse to talk to the overseer. It proceeded to offer 051 a deal in which the factory would rewind time before the slaughter and help the Foundation in killing the fairies, while the overseer would give it human sacrifices for it to feast on. 051, not having any other choice, accepted the deal, reviving the Foundation and committing genocide on the fairies. However, the overseer refused to carry out his part of the deal, and after moving away from the factory, he proceeded to completely bury it, wanting to ensure that it would not be a threat to anyone anymore. This did not work, as after some years the factory was able to produce more and more dangerous artifacts, and finding out about this, the overseer was forced to feed it a number of D-class personnel whose bodies vanished without a trace. Safe-class SCPs are anomalies that are easily and safely contained. This is often due to the fact that the Foundation has researched the SCP well enough that containment does not require significant resources, or that the anomalies require a specific and conscious activation or trigger. Classifying an SCP as safe, however, does not mean that handling or activating it does not pose a threat. Euclid-class SCPs are anomalies that require more resources to contain completely, or where containment isn't always reliable. Usually this is because the SCP is insufficiently understood or inherently unpredictable. Euclid is the object class with the greatest scope, and it's usually a safe bet that an SCP will be this class if it doesn't easily fall into any of the other standard object classes. Keter-class SCPs are anomalies that are exceedingly difficult to contain consistently or reliably, with containment procedures often being extensive and complex. The Foundation often can't contain these SCPs well due to not having a solid understanding of the anomaly or lacking the technology to properly contain or counter it. A Keter SCP does not mean the SCP is dangerous, just that it is simply very difficult or costly to contain. The Foundation's D-class personnel are a motley crew, ranging from hardened criminals to innocent civilians. They might have been tricked into volunteering for the Foundation's secret research facilities, or they could have been transferred by state authorities in secret agreements. In times of crisis, even political prisoners or homeless people can be unwittingly recruited as D-class personnel under Protocol 12. And if you think being a kid or a non-violent criminal will save you, think again. The Foundation has been known to use both as sacrifices for anomalies. Sometimes, even Foundation employees are demoted to D-class, but they're more likely to be executed for their screw-ups, and if all else fails, the Foundation may turn to cloning to replenish their D-class population, using SCPs or even school buses to produce identical copies. But being a D-class comes with a hefty price. You're basically a slave without rights, subject to harsh punishment or even summary execution if you disobey orders or try to escape. And don't believe everything you read about monthly terminations. It's just an anomalous mimetic hazard that compels staff members to sacrifice D-class to an unknown entity. So, if you're ever approached by the Foundation for a volunteer opportunity, you might want to think twice. The O5 Council, O5 Command, the Overseer's Overwatch. These are the people who have ultimate control over the Foundation. Each O5 member knows almost everything there is to know about the Foundation and its activities. Between them all, they know every single secret that the Foundation holds. Most Foundation personnel spend their entire careers without seeing them. Members below Clearance Level 2 don't even know they exist. Most people outside the Foundation have never heard of them, or don't think they are real. Mostly, everyone is afraid of them. An O5 walks into a room, and everyone pisses their pants. That's what happens when you hold supreme power over one of the scariest organizations in world history. There seem to be 13 members of the O5 Council, although even that is questionable. Perhaps there are multiple individuals sharing each O5 number. Perhaps dozens, but perhaps there is only one. Perhaps only one of each of the reports is true, or all reports are different facets of one person, with stand-ins and disinformation stirred in. The Gate Guardian is an impossible-to-contain colossal entity that stands over 1,000 feet in height, with anywhere from 2 to 108, but usually 4, luminous wing-like appendages sprouting from its shoulders, back, temples, ankles, and wrists. The Guardian wields a weapon, described as either a sword or knife, also known as SCP-0012. The weapon can emit flames that rival the heat of the sun, but strangely causes no damage to the environment around it. As its name suggests, the Gate Guardian stands, weapon drawn and head bowed, in front of an equally colossal gate through which a pastoral grove can be seen along with multiple other entities that share SCP-001's description. This grove is thought to be the biblical Garden of Eden. The grove contains many fruit trees of unknown species, with 2 trees of immense size near the grove's centre. One of them, thought to be the Tree of Knowledge, appears to be an ordinary apple tree, while the other, thought to be the Tree of Life, bears a fruit unknown on Earth. SCP-001 can and will annihilate any and all beings, organic or artificial, that pass within a 1 kilometre radius of itself and ignore its warnings. This is down to the subatomic level. The speed at which these attacks happen make it look like SCP-001 barely even moves. Ranged attacks on SCP-001 end with the instant annihilation of all projectiles, including nukes, and attackers no matter where in the world they are. In the case where a D-Class was executed for refusing to ignore SCP-001's warning to leave, all people responsible for the death of the D-Class were immediately annihilated, along with their research site. Following the discovery of a message from the future that arrived at the Foundation in the present day, it was learned that, should SCP-001 step aside from his placement in front of the gate, a widespread, potentially world-ending cataclysm is about to occur. If real, the Gate Guardian is one of, if not the most powerful beings that the Foundation has ever seen.